Hi, thanks for checking out this video. I'm Jermaine
And I'm Renee.
and we're the Macks. So in this video, we're gonna talk about preparing for marriage emotionally and mentally. And this fits into our preparing for marriage series that we've started. So if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, go and check them out immediately after this one. But these videos are here to help you prepare for marriage in a complete way. It's more than just planning the wedding. It's more than just, preparing to say I do. It's about being mentally and emotionally ready as well. So that's what we're going to
Yes.
get into this video. So, yeah, let's roll that intro.
All right, so here we are. We're going to start by talking about the emotional side of things,
Yeah.
right? First of all, let us distinguish between emotional and mental
Yeah.
preparation.
They're not
What
the
are we
same.
talking?
Well, we're not treating them as the same.
Right. What exactly are we talking about, and what is it? What is the difference between the two? So, on your emotions are what you feel, right? Angry, sad, happy. You feel that.
Yeah.
That's what you feel. On mentally though, you have to choose what to do with those feelings.
Yeah.
So on the mental side, it is a decision. Your mind is your decision maker.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Because you
making a decision.
really have to make when you experience an emotion, you make a decision. At the point that you realize that you're angry, at the point that you realize that you're sad, you make a decision now to
How
either
to
keep
treat it.
being that way, or you make a decision to change it, or you start to take some action or make some decisions as a result of that emotion. So that's the kind of distinguishing factor that we wanted to point out before we get into the video.
Right. So let's start with the emotional side of the
Yeah.
preparation. One of the biggest things that we want to drive home
Yeah.
when it comes to emotional preparation for marriage is the importance of coming into wholeness as individuals.
Yeah.
First, emotional wholeness. We all go through experiences in our lives, and it's our experiences that shape our perception or perspective of life and the things that we experience around us. So if we have wrong beliefs, then we carry that out. We execute those things in our lives, because we do what we believe.
And also, if we experienced trauma in the past, any past wounds, any past even misconceptions about a situation, those can trigger certain emotions that when you get into marriage, you have a challenge in a particular area because of that previous experience.
Right. And to just make it a little more clear, or a little more relatable or understandable, if it is that there's something that hurt you in the past, and then you get into a marital relationship and your spouse does something that looks like that thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the same thing, but it triggers a memory.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar. It looks familiar.
And your response emotionally, if you are not healed,
Yeah.
will be the same as it was in the past. And therefore, we emphasize the importance of not doing band-aid fixes, but truly receiving the healing, or at least starting the process of healing. Emotionally.
And that's some of the things that in premarital counseling you can address. So one of the things we encourage persons to do in preparing for marriage is to do premarital counseling and go through that process, start to uncover, some persons do premarital counseling and therapy depending on their situation, because they may have some, people have been through some really hurtful things that you want to heal those wounds before you get married, because then your spouse now has to, could possibly be hurt as well because of your own hurt. So,
right, because of that brokenness in you. So
just being whole is important. Yeah.
Very, very important. And it is something that you need to be willing, if you are pursuing a healthy and a godly marriage, it's something that you should be willing to go after, as in that healing is something that you should be willing to go after, even before you step up to that person on that wedding day, right?
Okay.
And then the next part of that emotional healing is understanding your self-worth.
Yeah.
Understanding that as an individual, you are worthy.
Yeah.
You are valued by God.
You're worthy of love, you're worthy of respect, you're worthy of honor. There isn't anything that you need to accomplish for your spouse to respect you. There's nothing that you need to accomplish to deserve more love, right? So that
and that's a point.
Yeah.
You just said there's nothing you need to accomplish or work for to earn that respect or that love. Why do we say that, and why do we believe that? We believe that because of Ephesians 5. There is no condition around the instruction for there's no limit, I should say, not no condition. There's no limit to husbands, love your wives
as Christ loved the church.
There's no limit to wives, respect your husbands, right? So just as the husbands are expected to give unconditional love to their wives as Christ did the church, wives are expected, are instructed to give unconditional respect to their husbands. And it is not respect him when you think he deserves it.
So there's this kind of mindset that as he progresses, as he earns more, as he does, as he provides for his family, my respect will match what he's doing. That's not the way that it should be done.
So husbands, we're saying to you,
your worth
husbands
is there.
To be, we're saying to you exactly, you are already worthy of respect.
Yeah.
You are worthy. And it is important for you to understand that before you go into marriage. It is not something that you need to earn. No, we're not saying, listen to what we're not saying. We're not saying that you do not
do those things.
Exactly.
You're not saying you don't take care of family, or you don't, live in a manner that is worthy of the place that you're now being, that you're called to be. So take care of your family, respect your wife, love her, do things that you need to do, but the respect and honor that you deserve. Exactly.
Doesn't hinge on that, right? So and wives likewise, you are already, or wives to be, you are already worthy of love.
Yeah.
Right? No, there is this saying, or this term culturally, that says you complete me. But listen, you are already whole. You are already
and that goes
complete.
For both man and woman.
Yes, both of you individually, you're already complete. Otherwise, are we saying that God didn't finish his work?
Or are we saying, because I take it a step further than that, because if the person completes you and they pass on, or the relationship doesn't work out, are you now incomplete? Is that so? Think about what that means.
So please understand, you are already a whole person.
Yeah.
Right? You may need healing.
Yeah.
There may be brokenness in areas that need to be healed, but you are a whole individual.
Yeah.
And therefore, when you come together with another whole individual, what is happening is the two are becoming one, because it's multiplication. 1 times 1 equals 1.
Yeah.
It's not an addition, right? God is more efficient than that. So let's just be clear. You are worthy.
Yeah.
And you are a whole individual. Before you get married, you are already a whole individual.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next thing that you want to do in terms of emotionally, and this is something that you have to make the commitment before you get married, have the conviction that you're going to fight for your marriage. And what that means is that your emotional response should be that of someone who is willing to stay to work things out. Yes. Somebody who's willing to, withstand the challenges. Somebody who's willing to just say, I'm not gonna call it quits. I'm gonna stay here and work on this as long as I need to get here. So that is an emotional training that you need to go through before you go into marriage, because when you experience hardship, you may go to what you know to do.
And we say when you go through hardships, because regardless of how much you prepare before you go into marriage, the truth is life continues to happen, and with life there will come trouble. Jesus says so.
Yes, and by hardship we're not restricting it to a particular thing, because you may think hardship means one thing, but hardship could take many forms. So we want you to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and just understand as well that at a very foundational level, marriage is
hard.
It's hard because it is constantly being targeted. It is being targeted by the enemy. It is being targeted by society. It is being targeted for destruction.
Yeah.
Right?
Marriage is being undermined.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so it is important for you to know that what you are entering into, this covenant relationship that you are entering into with God and your spouse, is something that you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Remember we spoke about the mental side, that you have to make a choice with what you do with the emotions, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. You have to make the choice every single day that you are fighting for this marriage and that your marriage is worth fighting for. Yeah. So on the emotional side, you have to know from the get-go, you have to know from going in that
and so it just speaks
to
building that emotional strength that we're not saying you're not going to get frustrated or you're not going to get angry. You may experience those things, but emotionally you want to be prepared that, okay, I may experience these things, certain situations may frustrate me, but I am ready. I'm ready to take on the challenge. I'm ready to thrive in my marriage and not just exist. You want to get to a place where your marriage is doing well and not just surviving.
So take the time to understand your own emotions.
Yeah.
Understand what your emotional triggers are. Understand why you feel the way you feel about certain things, and be able to express those things in a healthy way as you prepare to now share life with a partner forever. You know, because being in a healthy emotional state in that way, being able to express what your feelings are, will help you to grow together.
Yeah. So the next point is, emotionally you want to be at this place of humility to be able to receive correction. And what I mean by that is, we're imperfect people. The only perfect person is Jesus and that was here on earth. So we want to be at a place where emotionally we are prepared to receive correction. And that's for good or for bad, because we may receive correction in a way that may hurt us, may hurt our feelings, the way that it's said, maybe how it is expressed. We want to be focused on what is said and not how it's said. And how it's said can be addressed, but if there's truth to what is being said, hold on to that and resist the urge to focus on maybe, don't like the way you spoke to me, how you said this. Well, were they telling the truth?
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that the how can be addressed, and it should be addressed as well. But what we're focusing on here is the humility that is part and parcel of being corrected by your spouse.
Yes.
And it is a challenging thing, mainly because you as the spouse, you know the ins and outs, you know the deep dark secrets, you know the imperfections of the other person. And you may be looking at their imperfections and be like, so why you think you can talk to me about this when you are XYZ, and you're ready to list out what it is that they have to work on, what is wrong with them. But what we are saying to you is that that's not the approach. When it comes to correction, each person should be willing to take the feedback from their spouse, again, in a healthy marriage, an underlying belief should be that the other person has my best interest at heart at all times. So when you give me feedback, when my husband gives me feedback on something, I need to be in a space emotionally where my first feeling is not offense, where my first feeling instead is, okay, humility.
Yeah.
And from that place of humility, then I go to, okay, so let me think through this. What have I done? What could I have done differently? Where can I be better? How can I grow out of this feedback?
And if you think about it, so the things we said before, this makes sense. So if I understand my self-worth, if I'm coming into the marriage with the right mindset, when I receive that feedback, now I'm not saying Renee is questioning my ability to lead, or she's not questioning who I am as a man. If I've addressed those issues, I'm whole coming into the marriage.
Yes.
I can take feedback now from the right place. I can say, okay, well, maybe I didn't handle this the right way. Maybe I shouldn't have said this, or whatever it is. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet. I can work on it. So it's a different conversation. I can be sober in my view of myself, knowing that I am not perfect. And so feedback will come. And then maybe if she said it to me in a way that I didn't appreciate, I can say, well,
address that.
I appreciate you for pointing that out. The way you said it though, because sometimes it's not even how it's said, but when it's said. Sometimes timing is important in delivering that feedback as well. We have found for us, timing is important. So we have to be, at the same time, emotionally intelligent in our marriage to determine when is the best time to share that feedback with our spouse.
Absolutely. And an extension of that point is being prepared to be sharpened and refined.
If nothing else, marriage will reveal to you your heart.
Yes.
If you want to know if you're patient, marriage will tell you. You want to know if you're kind, marriage will tell you. You want to know if you can persevere, marriage will certainly tell you that as well. So we have seen that it has revealed our true heart in every single situation. And that's why we can definitely say we're not perfect, because we would have considered ourselves kind and patient. We had to stretch that in this marriage. We thought ourselves generous people. We had to stretch that in this marriage. So it brings it out of you, because usually what happens is that you have to give up your own desires. You have to give up being selfish so that you can do what's in the best interest of the other person. That's what marriage is about. It's about serving each other. It's not about what you can get. It's about what you can give, right? So you have to just be prepared to work on the things that the Lord deemed fit for that person to bring out in you.
Yes.
Right? So if you think you're having a hard time with patience, then it could be that the Lord wants to work on your patience. So he gave you a spouse that can lovingly bring out that patience in you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it brings me to the point of just thinking about it this way. If it is that we believe that God has placed this person in our lives, right? So you have been waiting for a spouse and praying for a spouse, and the spouse has been presented to you now, and you're like, yes, God, thank you. You've sent my husband, you've sent my wife, whatever it is, but you're excited because God has sent this person. It's no different. So you believe that God has sent this person to be your spouse. When it is that the hardships come, when the refining starts to happen, it's still God who sent the person.
Then you may feel like it's not God. You're like, wait, God, did I hear you right? Because that
you start to wonder. Yeah. But it's the same God who sent that person. So your question is not, or should not be, God, I really you send a person here, like
or just being so. A thing that we used to say a lot when we were younger in our marriage is, Do we have anything in common?
Mm-hmm.
Did we make the right decision? We don't seem to be able to solve these problems. Are we compatible? We start to question those things.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that if it was God who sent the person when you were waiting for the spouse, it's still God who sent them when you're in the hardship. And so it is important to hold on to that and remember that there's a purpose in the pain. There's a purpose for what you are going through. So do not abort that purpose by derailing
because
the
there's
process.
Discomfort. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's very important. And just general life lessons speaking, when it is that we're going through hardships, when we're going through difficulties, it is still God who is sovereign. It is still God who is in control. And He is the one who is saying, come to me.
Yeah.
And I will give you rest. So you can go to Him, and He wants us to rest even in the midst of the storms. So emotionally, we should be preparing, or you should be preparing as you're going into marriage to come to that place of acceptance that refining will happen, sharpening will happen. It won't feel good, but it is a part of the process.
It won't feel good, but it is for your good.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just some of the things we wanted to touch on from the emotional side. On the mental side now, you want to just prepare. It's really about being able to persevere. So that same hardship that we alluded to before, you have to be mentally able to persevere, because sometimes we can break down here and then our actions start to change. We break down here and the things we say start to just be different, because you may find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're doing the right thing, but your spouse isn't returning the favor, and you have to go through those questions in your head, those challenging thoughts that say, well, if they're not doing it, why should I?
And when we say the right thing here, we mean the godly thing. For instance, if it is that you are being respectful as a wife, you're being respectful towards your husband, but he's not being loving towards you. Or as a husband, you're loving on your wife and she's being dismissive of it. Does it mean that you stop? Or do you persevere through that? Do you persist?
And those things start in the mind, because the thought will come to stop, or the thought will come to start being a certain way. You have to be able to overcome the mental battle that we have relating to our marriage. Is so I can give you an example. For us, in that I'm having a challenge with Renee, or a disagreement, and I may hear the Lord say, show love to her. I have to accept that here before the action will follow. So the Lord may say, go to her. I have to agree with that up here, or it's not gonna be, it's not gonna come out in the right way.
Right, and you have to make the choice.
Yeah.
So you have to make the choice to act on that instruction.
Yeah.
And I think actually to support that point, the movie Fireproof was actually a very excellent example of that persistence and perseverance. If you haven't watched it, recommend that you do.
Yeah. So the next thing we wanted to talk about here on the just mentally preparing for marriage is being mindful of how you receive offense. And it's actually sometimes in the heat of an argument or the heat of a conversation, your spouse says something to you, you register that as an offensive thing. You may understand that it's in the heat of an argument, but it stays there, it lingers. So in the future, you start to kind of replay that thing. They've said this about me. Oh, you see me as worthless. Oh, you think I'm no good. And you hold on to those things. You have to be willing to mentally release it. So forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness is me agreeing here that I'm going to release you from that offense.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And we're not saying that it makes the person right in what they would have said or done to hurt you, or that it is any less hurtful, right? But what we are saying is that you have to choose what you do with that feeling of offense. That
you have to choose to forgive them and release them. You have to choose to let go of something that might have been said in anger, or may have been said from the wrong perspective, or may have just been said because maybe that's how they feel, but be willing to accept that that feeling can change.
Right. And even before that, you in your processing, you also have to choose whether you're going to take offense or not.
Yeah.
So before you get to the point of being offended and then having to forgive, you have to choose if you're going to take offense.
Yeah.
And there's a book. There's a book called The Bait of Satan, written by John Bevere, which speaks in very plain language about the impact of offense and how the enemy uses offense to pull us out, to kind of derail us from where it is that we're meant to go. And I have found it to be a powerful and life-changing book, and I do strongly recommend that you read it if it is, well, whether or not you think you have a problem with offense, I recommend that you read that book.
I think everybody should read it because there are ways in which we can be offended that we don't realize that it's offense. It's a very subtle thing because you don't think you're offended, you just have a certain reaction.
Right, a reaction or a feeling, and you're like, you don't think about it as offense, but that's really what it is. And then it takes root because you have not identified it as offense to uproot that from your life, so it continues to grow. And then it becomes something bigger and greater and more overpowering. So taking hold of offense and getting your mind right in terms of your perspective on offense is a very important, it's a very big point as you prepare for marriage, because again, you're about to be in each other's space every day,
all day.
And so it's almost inevitable that you will say something that the other person doesn't like. You'll do something that the other person doesn't like. But how do you handle that? How do you treat with that? What decisions will you make?
Yeah, and it's different when you're dating. So when you're dating, some things that are said may even be cute. It may be funny. And then when you're married, the person actually saying the same thing, but no, it's a long day. It's a lot. You had a long day at work, or you're having, you're in a bad place. And the very same thing that was once funny now becomes hard to deal with. So that's another topic though.
And then finally, we believe that all that we have spoken about so far culminates in mental discipline. And mental discipline in this sense, we're talking about just consistently choosing to do the right thing. Regardless of the other person's action, because it's not now about you and the person, but it's about your accountability to God. So you are first accountable to God.
So in place of doing the right thing, we could say do the loving thing. So love is a choice. So we heard that a great person said that love is a choice. So you choose in each situation to respond with love. You make a decision that instead of doing this, I'm going to do this because this thing shows love. And sometimes you have to choose between two good alternatives. Choose the best one, the one that shows the most love.
So taking into consideration what the loving thing is, training your mind to take hold of and to hold on to the things that are loving, the things that are godly, the things that are pure and honoring for the other person. That training begins before you say I do. That training begins long before, so that you can walk into a healthy marriage.
Definitely. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. It's the things that we've mentioned in this video and in this series on preparing for marriage, they all, we believe, put you in a better position for marriage than you would have been without them. So this is not a recipe, a formula that you write down, you follow these steps and you'll never have an issue in your marriage. That's definitely not what we're saying. But these are things that we find, one, just aren't spoken about a lot or in the right way or in what we believe could be a more impactful way. And these are things that the Lord has revealed to us that would have impacted our marriage in a great way. So we're speaking from a place of just experience in this regard. So really hope that this video would have blessed you, would have encouraged you, would have just given you a new outlook as you prepare for. If you're married, it would already, begin to start to shape how you think about your spouse.
Indeed.
There's a lot more that we have to say on this topic that we want you to watch the video that's going to be recommended now. It speaks more about the preparing for marriage process. Check it out. Let us know what you think. We want to see you over there as well.
And if you haven't done so yet, remember to like, share, subscribe, and talk to us in the comments.
Yeah.
We love to hear from you guys. We want to hear more about your own experiences and what is it, what your thoughts are.
We want to learn from you.
Yes, help us to learn from you as well. So we thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video.